If you're looking to add titles to your editing project, carry on watching this video and I'll talk you through the basics.
Hi, welcome back to Bite Size Guide. I'm Phil. In this video, we're going to be looking at titles. There are a number of ways to approach adding titles. So what we'll do is start at the very beginning. I've got my project open, and what I'm going to do before I do anything is I'm going to create a new track solely for titles. So up here, I'm going to go right click and add a track. I'm going to rename it Titles. And as you can see, as I always usually do, I've got all the other tracks locked, just so we don't inadvertently catch the other tracks and alter something without realizing it. Now we've got 3 video tracks on our project. I think it might be worth mentioning about layers. When your video tracks are stacked up, here we've got video 1, pop-up subscribe button track, and our new titles track. When they're stacked up, video 1 is the main video, and that, if you imagine it, that's at the bottom, because it's at the bottom here of the stack. The pop-up subscribe track is on top of that, so it does actually show up as on top of the other track. Now, because we've done a third track and it's on top of the other 2, if we created a title, we could drag it, because it's on top, we could drag it over the top of this subscribe button because it's all layered. I just thought I'd mention that, so I don't know if I've mentioned that before. It's another thing to consider when you're actually doing these. So what we're going to do is start at the Effects tab. So we click onto that and we go to Titles in the toolbox. As you can see, we've got basic titles and then we've got fusion titles. Well, first of all, we're going to start off with general titles, normal titles. So I've just moved I'll click there to get rid of the button, and we'll get back to where we were. So what we're going to do is look at what we've got. If you hover your mouse over these title buttons, it gives you an example of what actually they do. Basically, they're all different. So these are all sort of like standard titles, I think, apart from one that moves. And these are all built into DaVinci Resolve 20, DR20. They're all slightly different. This is a scroll one, this one moves. Then we've got text and text plus. And what we're going to do is get hold of text, but we'll grab hold of it with the left mouse button and we'll drag it onto our timeline, into our titles track. And there it is there. So if we drag our playhead over that, there it is. Basic title. What we'll do, we'll just close off effects for the moment so we can see it better. What we'll do, it's like any video, we can drag it to where we want it to be, and we're going to drag it to where the church is. So when it plays, it says basic title, kind of where we want it to be. And what we're going to do, we're going to alter that with the correct wording. Now the best way to do that, you can actually hover over it, and you can actually, because it's a rich text, you can actually click onto the title itself and alter it. And you can also grab it by pressing the left mouse button, and you can drag it to where you want it to be, anywhere on the screen. We'll move it down to there for now. Now what you can do, if we click on our text, that's that, it's there. We can go to Inspector, and it gives us a load of extra tweaks. And as you can see right at the top, it says title. Right at the top is the wording. So what we can do is just type into there, and it'll come up on the screen, altered. So we'll type in St. Mary's Church and enter. Drag it across back to there. And there you go, St. Mary's Church. And what you can also do is alter the font. And if you just hover over the fonts, you can actually look on the screen. Look at the video and you can see exactly what that font looks like as you're going down. You're not pressing anything. All I'm doing is hovering the mouse pointer over it. You can see. That's very good. It's an easy way to decide which font you would like. So I'm just going to back up to the top. And I'll just pick any, really. It doesn't really matter. We'll pick that one. St. Mary's Church. Now, what else we can do? It's a bit like a Word. Basically, it's a bit like Word. You can go onto the font face, so you can change it to like bold or italic, and you just hover over the wording, and it changes it automatically on the video, just so you can see what it looks like before you actually choose. Obviously, colour. You click on colour, and you can change the colour of the writing. Keep ours white for the time being. You can alter the font size, the actual size of the lettering, so you can start off massive. I'll go back down. And these curling arrows on the right hand side, if you click onto those, it brings it back to what it was originally. So you can mess about with it and then just press that curl arrow, and it puts it back to what it was. You've got track. Now if I slide that, it alters the spaces in between the letters. You can see it's crunching it up and down. And we've got line spacing. Now, if you had 2 lines in there, 2 lines of text, you could drag that up and down, left and right, and it would alter the distance between the 2 lines. And what we'll do, we'll add another line in now at this point, and we can demonstrate that. So if you just press under there, and we'll type in another line, and we'll put it on this line, Clumber Park National Trust. So now we've got 2 lines. And if I drag, again, we'll drag it over just so you can see it. St. Mary's Church, Clumber Park, National Trust. So what you can do on the next line, so if we go back to line spacing, I grab that button and drag it, you can see what that does. It pulls the text lines apart and together. So that's that. Font style. You can have it underlined. You can have it lined above. You can have it aligned through it if you wanted that, as if it's crossed out. Line times 2. Now I can't remember what that actually, what the name of that actually is. And there's that one. I think it alters where the actual text sits on the line. I think that's what it does. If I remember rightly. And at that point, what we'll do, also alignment. So you can do it sort of like it's aligned from the left-hand side. So if I click on that, if you look at the text, it's moved over to that side. We're going to keep it at that. Now, what's interesting about rich text is that you can highlight just a few letters, and then it'll treat those few letters separately from the other letters. So what I'll do is I'll highlight the whole of that line, and then because that's highlighted, we can now treat it differently. So we can alter the size. So what we're going to do is make it smaller. Oh no, we're not making it bigger. Let's make it the other way. So we made it slightly smaller. And what we'll do, we'll click on it again and move it about. And we'll make it even smaller, I think. You can actually type in if you want to do a specific size, you can type in 50 and enter, and it'll change it like that rather than dragging it. If you wanted to do that, if you knew the exact size you wanted, you can do that. So there we go. It's St. Mary's Church and then Clumber Park National Trust. Now the numbers below are the positioning. So it's the equivalent. You can actually left click over the top of that number and drag it left and right, and it'll go up and down, and Y it'll go left and right, or the other way around. So you can do that, but really you can just grab hold of it and do it that way. If you notice we're doing that, look, you can see the numbers changing, and that's the actual coordinates. So you could actually type that number if you wanted it to be there, if you knew what the number was. But it's easy just to drag it, and we'll drag it to there. Now if we drag the bar further down, we'll ignore stroke and drop shadow for now, but we'll look at the background. Now this text actually does have a background connected to it. Height is 0, so basically it's hidden. So if we get the hide button there and drag it right, you notice on the picture the background appears, and you can alter the width as well. See, you can alter the width of that, and it does drag in like a box. And the corner radius is like the corners of the background. You can sharpen them, so they're quite rounded at the moment. But if I put it to 0, they'll be completely square. So if I just like move it a little bit, it just gives it a slight curve. And we've got here at the bottom, we have opacity. And if we grab hold of that, it makes the background more opaque, see-through, or less see-through. Drag it right to the right-hand side, it makes it completely black. Or whatever colour. You can actually change the colour of that as well. So we'll drag it back, just so it's a little bit less in your face when there's a bit of I think there's a bit of a opacity in there. If you click on the colour, you can actually change the colour to whatever you want. You can change the background to anything you like. It's a nice one, but I'll leave it a black for now. So now we've got it looking like that. We go back up to the top. What we didn't talk about was zoom. So you can actually grab it and make it bigger, but you can actually do it on the zoom as well. So if you left click over zoom, you can make that smaller or larger. So I will make it a little bit smaller, and then we'll go back down to the background again, and I'll just make it a little bit smaller to fit in with the lettering. Then what we'll do, we'll just grab hold of that and we'll just drag it further down like that. Very nice. So what we'll do now, we'll move back on our timeline just before the text, and then we'll play it, see what it does. St. Mary's Church. Stays there for a while, for as long as you want, and goes. And we'll stop that. Now what you can do is you can grab it and you can drag it. And the longer it is on the timeline, the longer it lasts. So I'll play that again. So because we've expanded the size of this along our timeline, it stays for longer. And then it goes. So we'll just bring it back to the front again. Now you may have noticed when it pops up, it's quite abrupt. It like flashes up, and then when it goes, it just disappears instantly. I'll show you what I mean, just in case you didn't notice it. So it's just doing, it's there, and it just at the end it just abruptly just disappears like that. And what we can do, we can alter that so it fades in and fades out. So if we click back on our text box, you see over the top of in the top corners there are 2 white buttons, and they're like fade in and fade out. So if I grab hold of that one, when we've got 2 arrows like that, you can grab it with your left mouse button and drag it a little way, say to there, and then we'll just press play We'll just see what that's done. See, it's nicely appeared. And then just disappears. So what we can do, go back over it again. What we can do, grab hold of the other one and drag that one in as well. So it'll fade in and then it'll slowly fade out. Try again. Yeah, just like that. So we've created our very own titles from scratch. And we can now go one step further and actually add an animation to that. So if we highlight title on the timeline, and if we go up to effects, and then we want to go to video transitions. Scrolling down, we come to motion. Now what we want to do is a push. So instead of actually applying it to the video, what we're going to do is apply it to the title. There, look, we could added it in, just there. And I'll show you what that does. If we bring that, pull that back and play, it pushes it on. So what we want to do now is put another one on at the other end. So we grab it again, and we'll place it there at the end of our titles. So it'll push on, and then it'll push off, but we've just got to configure this one to go the other way. So we'll just highlight it, and it brings up the inspector for that little transition. And what we want to do is change from push left, basically means pushing from the left, and we want to push right, so it's pushing from the right, so it'll push it back the other way. And we'll try that. Very nice. Now, if you scroll down on the transitions, there are so many. You could add most of these to anything, video, titles. There's so much, it's impossible for me to go through it all. What I'd recommend is for you to just have a play with it, and just experiment with it. For titles, I always think that it's more of an art than a science, this part. It's all subjective. So it's just a case, it's like painting or anything like that. It's just a case of sort of like practicing it, and you'll just get better and better at it. But I'll just do one little example. I can't resist it. Let's go to that, and we'll delete that. And we'll delete that sliding transition as well. So we're back to it being fixed, but then fade in and fade out. So we'll play it again. It's just there like that, look, like it was before we did the slide in and slide out. And this is just a kid in me that wants to do this. If you go down to the bottom, just to give you an example of what you can do. Right at the bottom, there's burn away. If you grab that and put that at the end, and then play. Yeah, sorry, I couldn't resist. I like that one. That's a burn away, so you can burn your title away rather than let it slide out, if you so wished. Yeah, as I've already said, that there are so many built-in transitions that you can apply. It's actually amazing, really. It'd be possible, really, to go through every one, because the video would end up being about 6 hours long, and I'm sure you'd probably fall asleep before we got to the end of it. So what we'll do now, we'll just show you there actually are some built-in titles. So if I delete that, what I'll do, I'll be brave and delete it, the whole thing. And then we can go to titles again, but then Fusion titles. And the Fusion titles are ones that are actually pre-animated. They're from the Fusion page. So, and just as an example, we'll just pick one. That one, for instance. We'll get that. We'll just drag that on. And doing this, it kind of cuts out some of the process. If it's one that you like, I'll show you. See, that's already a fancy one that's been pre-animated. So you can add one of those in instead of building your own if you so wish. And again, if you've got Inspector, you can alter it in the same way you could do the other ones that you built yourself. You can change the text. St. Mary's Church. And again, you can change the font and the colour and the size exactly the same way you did before. And one thing you can't do with all of these is, because it's not a rich text, you can't click on it on the screen and drag it about. You have to position it manually. And if you go to like settings, you'd have to do it from here. You couldn't do it by dragging it. But if you do want the fancy effect and you want it built in, you don't mind having to just tinker about with the positioning of it, then that's another way of doing them. And there are, if we scroll down, there are loads of them. There's so many. Again, it'd be impossible to show you them all in this video. As I say, the video would be running all day. But there you go, you get an idea. And just as a little side note, when we're talking about the inspector, as you can see, it's only taking up half the space and we're having to scroll it. What you can do is, up here, see where that arrow is there inside a box. If you click on that, it expands the whole of the inspector. If you don't mind it taking up the space, you can, instead of having to scroll up and down, you can see everything in one go. So sometimes that's quite useful to be able to see it all in one view without having to slide up and down. Well, it makes it a bit clearer. Thanks for watching that. I hope you found that useful and interesting. If you found this video useful, please give us a thumbs up and click on subscribe. And also, please leave a comment. The more comments we get, the more improvements we can make to these videos and more useful they'll be to people in the future. I'm Phil, and this is Bite Size Guide. Thanks very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.